"Why couldn't we just fly here?" Casey asked as we all exited the train in the town of Mittenwald after a journey of over 12 hours. "Because some of the children are unable to fly," Emily said. "Not every species on Earth likes to be tens of thousands of feet up in the air." Tommy chuckled. "Yeah, ask Nate." Emily looked at me, a question ready on her lips. "Don't like flying," I admitted. "Not unless alcohol is involved. Trains, I'm okay with." All along the private platform, more and more people piled off. The noise from so many people talking grew every few seconds, until it was just an indistinguishable din. I had the sudden urge to get back on the train. Several of the teachers motioned for everyone to follow them, and soon we were all setting off once more. It was like some weird version of the Pied Piper, with a clipboard and whistle, leading the children and adults out through the small train station and into a huge car park, where 3 massive buses were parked. Each bus was a long single-decker, all of them painted yellow and blue. Casey had met up with some of her friends and had merged into the throng of school children, leaving Tommy, Emily, and me to sit back and wait to see what happened. "Have you been here before?" Emily asked me while I watched the teacher in charge try to actually take charge. "Lots," I said. "Those buses are what they use to ferry all the kids up to the main complex." "Are they safe?" "Run flat tires, bulletproof windows and reinforced shells," Tommy said. "I've seen these things take a point-blank shotgun slug to the engine and keep going. Nothing short of a missile strike is going to stop it." "Are you worried we'll get attacked?" I asked. Emily shook her head. "No, I just worry about driving in places I've never been before." "The hotel for everyone is 10 minutes outside of town, next to Lake Ferchensee. It's another 20 minutes to one of the single most secured places on the planet. It's why the kids come here from every Avalon school all over the world. Hades and his people do this every month. Besides, that's why the parents and guardians are here." "The guardians are mostly witches, who by your own words aren't something most worry about." "Most sorcerers," I corrected, "and I've met a few witches I wouldn't want to cross." "What is she doing?" I asked as the woman who had been glaring at me, Mara Range, was ushering selected people onto a 4th bus that I hadn't thought was part of the trip. It was more of a mini-bus, although it had clearly been modified for more rugged travel. It was all happening much to the obvious irritation of one of the teachers. "She wants all the witches and their children to travel separate from the rest," Emily said. "Why?" "Because she's a fucking idiot," Emily snapped, and walked off toward what was hastily turning into a row between Mara and the head teacher, a large woman, who was possibly part troll. "She's going to get her head torn off," Tommy said as he rejoined me after going off to help Casey put their bags on the buses. Casey and 5 more young teenage girls were alongside him, although I didn't recognize any of the newcomers. "She's nuts if she thinks segregating the witches is a good idea," I said, and one of the girls with Casey said goodbye and stomped off unenthusiastically toward the ruckus. "Mara is Chloe's mum," Casey informed me. "They don't get on." "Poor kid," I said mostly to myself, although I heard a giggle from one of the girls standing with Casey. "What about her dad?" Casey shrugged. "She was close to him, but he left her mum a year or so ago. Mara started to go a little—" "Crazy," Tommy finished for her. "You should see her at parents' meetings. She's like a tiny, slightly less moustached starling." "She still wears her wedding ring, though," Casey added, "although if anyone brings up Chloe's dad to her, she goes mad." Emily eventually reached the arguing women, and whatever she said appeared to work as the teacher threw her arms in the air, and Mara smiled triumphantly. She ushered the children and adults onto the bus, including Emily, who stopped to say something that made Mara bristle. Mara's daughter Chloe was last on the bus, which caused Mara to stop her from getting on and say something that clearly upset the young girl. "I don't like her," Casey said. "She's horrible to Chloe," agreed one of her friends, a short ginger girl whose face was covered in tiny freckles. "I can't say that I'm a big fan," I said as the bus's engine roared to life and slowly moved out of the lot. "Nice of them to wait for everyone else," Tommy grumbled. "I guess this is setting the standard for her behaviour for the next few days." "I think it's more than just her," I said, as the